The share is scheduled to commence at 1 p.m. Stay tuned. Hello, guys. Welcome. Can you hear me? Shmuley, can you hear me? Bernice Hart, can you hear me? Hello, Kent. Can you hear me?
Hello, Rabbi. I'm Will, and yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my internet again, I had it all set up, and now it's crashed, and I have to start again. So I gotta go get the screen share all over again.
Okay. Hi, John. Hi, Stephen. Shmuley.
Hello, Ken. Hello, Stephen. Hello, Rabbi.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Is the sound on?
Okay, so Bernice Hart is not really Bernice, or is it? Okay, I see a lady and gentleman. Welcome. Bernice and who? Introduce yourselves. Are you new?
Hi, Rabbi. We're Bernice and Stan Hart from London, originally from Durban.
Wow, we all the way from London. Gee, is
Yeah.
this your first time joining our Rambam class?
Yes,
Yes.
it's the first time I've noticed it on the internet.
Welcome from London.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Okay, if I can just remind the gentlemen to cover their heads before we start the shir, which will be in a moment. We are on chapter 8 of the laws of women, which in this case means marrying women. Marriage, and specifically Kiddushin, the consecration, what we normally do at a chuppah. We normally have a rabbi to make sure that it's done correctly, but if one does their own thing and they do certain things which are not 100% correct, we have to know, is the marriage valid or not? So we'll have some interesting discussions today on this subject. It's a short chapter, so it shouldn't take us too long, but it is quite interesting, actually. And we will start in a moment.
Maybe close it now that you muted yourself. Did you mute yourself? Yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your daily Rambam. We're doing one chapter at a time. And today we're in the laws of Ishut, which is matters dealing with women, specifically the laws of marriage and getting married, a halachic marriage, which we would normally do under a chuppah. But Strictly speaking, you don't need a rabbi to get married. I did mention this in chapter 1, which I introduced a week ago. And we spoke about this, about mock weddings that happen at youth summer camps. And sometimes they do such a good job that the poor girl needs a get. So if a gentleman gives a woman something of value and says the magic words, behold, you are consecrated to me with this money or with this ring or whatever it might be of value. It doesn't have to be a ring, strictly speaking. And there are two kosher, credible witnesses present who observed this transaction, and the woman accepts the ring or the cash or whatever it might be, then the marriage is valid. The marriage takes effect. Today's chapter deals with the continuation of yesterday's, which is conditional marriages, where the man, instead of just making a simple statement, as we all do under the chuppah, Harei at mikudeshetli, behold, you are consecrated to me, married to me with this ring according to the law of Moses and Israel, he makes a condition, on condition that whatever. We'll soon see a whole list of possible conditions he might make. And then we are now limited by the condition. The condition must be fulfilled, failing which the marriage will not be effective. Okay, are you all with me? Can you hear me clearly? Thank you. Okay, so here's a whole series in Halacha 1 of different types of conditions that a person might make. And the halacha is one simple halacha at the very end. Stay tuned. So, when a man tells the woman, behold, you are consecrated to me with this cup of wine. Okay, he's giving her, instead of a ring, remember, you could give cash, anything of value. I told you the story last week in the Warsaw ghetto. They didn't have a jewelry store and people wanted to get married. He gave a candelabra to the girl, a menorah, or Shabbos candles, silver. It's worth money. Anything worth money can be used to effect a marriage. It does not have to be a ring on the finger. Now, of course, ring is the tradition, and we tell people to do rings, but if they didn't do a ring or no ring was available, doesn't mean you can't get married. So anything of value will do. So he gives her a cup of wine. It's worth money. Behold, you're consecrated with this cup of wine. And the cup is discovered to contain not wine, but honey. The commentaries here say that in those days, honey was worth more than wine. Today, it would be the reverse. What if it's the opposite? If he says, behold, you're consecrated to me with this cup of honey, and it turns out to be wine inside, not honey? Or he gives her a coin, silver. A dinar was a ancient denomination of a coin. You're consecrated to me with this dinar of silver, and it turns out to be gold. Now, obviously, gold is worth more than silver, so what could be wrong? We'll soon see what the problem is. He said, behold, you're consecrated with this dinar of silver, and it turns out to be gold, or the reverse. It turns out, he says, with this dinar of gold, and it turns out to be silver. Or he says, behold, you are consecrated to me on condition that I am a Kohen, and he turns out to be not a Kohen, but a Levi, or a Yisrael for that matter. Or vice versa. He says, on condition that I'm a Levi, and he turns out to be a Kohen. On condition that I'm a Givonite. That was a tribe that was, whose conversion to the Jewish people was not accepted back in the olden days of Joshua and King David later. So he turns out to be not a Givonite, but a Mamzer, a bastard, which we spoke about the other week, the definitions of what that is halachically. Or the reverse. Or he says, on condition that I'm an inhabitant of a town. which is a town, but not a metropolis, which is bigger. And he turns out to be an inhabitant of a metropolis. Maybe she likes small town people, who are more wholesome than city slickers. Or vice versa. He says, I'm conditioned that I'm an inhabitant of a metropolis and is discovered to be an inhabitant of a smaller town. Maybe she likes sophisticated urban people, not some country yokel from a little shtetl. Or on condition that I am poor and it turns out he's rich, or vice versa, on condition that I'm rich and he turns out to be poor, or that my house is close to the bathhouse. In those days, they didn't have central plumbing. There was a public bathhouse in every town, depending on how big the town was. They'd have a different number of bathhouses. So to have your house situated not too far from the bathhouse was considered a good thing. And it turns out that he's far, or vice versa, on condition that I'm distant and it turns out to be close. And the list continues, on condition that I have a maid or a daughter who knows how to braid hair or bakes and discovers that he doesn't have any of the above, or on condition that he has none of the above or one of the above and it's discovered that he does, or on condition that he has another wife and children. Don't forget, in the olden days, 1,000 years ago and earlier, polygamy was permissible in Judaism. Bigamy only became forbidden 1,000 years ago. How do you like that? In the Bible, we know Abraham, Jacob had more than one wife, King David, etc. So he's telling her up front, condition that I have a wife and children, or on condition that I don't have a wife and children, and then it turns out he does. So in all of the above, in this whole list of different things, in all these and in any similar instance, the woman is not consecrated. The kiddushin, the consecration, the marriage, he gave her something of value, but he attached a condition, or he gave her something of value saying it's this, and it turns out to be something else. It doesn't matter if it's more valuable or less valuable. If he did not meet his words, the kiddushin, the marriage, is not valid. It may be that this particular woman prefers to be further from the bathhouse. It may be that this particular woman prefers honey to wine. Maybe she's an Alcoholics Anonymous. It may be that she likes silver more than gold. Just because something is worth more than something else does not mean necessarily that this particular woman, this individual, every individual is unique. They have their likes and dislikes. And it could be that she likes the other thing, which is not worth as much as the thing he said. So whether it's worth more or worth less, if it's not what he said it is, or he does not meet the condition, whether it's a good condition or a not so good condition, in all of the above cases and examples and similar ones, the woman is not consecrated. The same rule applies if she makes a condition based on false information. So generally speaking, the man has to put his money where his mouth is. Excuse me. He's the one who gives the woman something of value, the ring or cash or the menorah or whatever, or the honey or the wine or whatever it is, as long as it's a basic value. And if she accepts it, action speaks louder than words. She does not have to say, I do. In Judaism, there's no I do necessary. If she accepts the ring, that is the most eloquent testament that she accepts his proposal of marriage. So when a man puts a ring on the finger of a woman under the chuppah and says, behold, you are consecrated to me with this ring according to the law of Moses and Israel, and she accepts the ring, that means she accepts his proposal. This is his official proposal of marriage. I don't know how he proposed when they got engaged. He could have got on his knees. He could have taken her to Victoria Falls, to London, and Cape Town. It makes no difference. The official proposal is under the chuppah when he gives her the ring or something of value, and says, "Harei at mikudeshet, behold, you are consecrated to me, married to me with this ring according to the law of Moses in Israel." She doesn't have to say anything. If she accepts the ring, she allows him to put it on her finger and she takes it. That speaks louder than any words. That's much more powerful and eloquent than any "I do." She accepted his proposal. She took the ring. You cannot have the ring without him. If you take the ring, he comes along with it. That's very important to know. So, if there are any conditions which are not met, or there's any misrepresentation, and then there seems to be that she would be marrying him under false pretenses, then the marriage will not be valid. That's why he doesn't talk about it here in this chapter, but I'm going to add this now on my own. Why do we use under the chuppah not just a ring, but what kind of ring do we use under the chuppah? A diamond ring? No. We use a plain, round, gold band, undecorated, no stones. You don't want any diamonds even. Why? What's wrong with diamonds? Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Because what if it turns out to be cubic zirconium, which is not really diamonds? She would be married under false pretenses. Or what if she thinks, this diamond, that looks good. That looks like about a carat. And it turns out to be 0.75 of a carat. She might have been married under false pretenses. She accepted his proposal thinking it's a carat, and it turns out to be less than a carat. Whatever. So therefore, we don't take chances. Plain round gold band. Gold has a value. What is gold today? $1,800 something, I imagine. So we know the value of gold. There's no stones, there's no decor, there's no designs. Plain round gold band. You want yellow gold, white gold, whatever. As long as it's plain and there's no possible misconceptions and misrepresentations. Okay, you got that principle? That's halacha 1. Now, number 2. Even if she argues, so the rabbi will say, we have a problem here. This marriage is not kosher because he made a condition which he didn't keep. And she says, no, I want to be married to him. I'm happy. It doesn't matter. I like gold. I like silver. I like near the bathhouse, far from the bathhouse. It doesn't worry me. In all the above, she is not consecrated. The marriage is not valid, even though she says, in my heart, I was willing to be consecrated, to be married to him, even though he deceived me and gave me wrong information. Or if she gave him false information, she told him she's rich and she turns out not to be rich, whatever. She will not be consecrated. Even though she says, in my heart, I was willing, or he says, in my heart, I was willing to marry her, even though she deceived me. I thought she's rich and she's not rich, or whatever. I thought she's a size 8 and she turns out to be a size 12, or whatever it might be. The rationale being that feelings in one's heart are not the same as explicit statements. So we go by what you say, not by what you think, what's in your heart. I don't know what you have in your heart. How can I know for sure? We'll soon see more halachas about that. So therefore, we have to go by what you say. Now, number 3, when a man tells a woman, behold, you're married to me on condition that I am a perfumer. That's very nice. You manufacture perfumes. That's very nice. You smell nice when you come home. And maybe you'll bring me some fancy designer perfumes, Chanel No. 5 or whatever is popular these days. I don't know. So she says, yes, she accepts the ring. Turns out he is not only a perfumer, he's also a leather craftsman, which means he works with smelly hides of animals to make them into leather. Now he doesn't smell so good anymore because he's dealing with tanning, and these hides are foul smelling. So, or if he says, on condition that I'm an inhabitant of a town, and it discovers that he has dual citizenship in a town and a big metropolis, or on condition that my name is Yosef, my name, and it turns out his name is Yosef Shimon. He has a second name. He didn't tell her about the second name. In all of the above, she is consecrated. So he did not lie. He just didn't tell the whole truth. You know, in Yiddish, anybody here speak Yiddish? In Yiddish, there's a statement that says, Aligen tormen nicht sagen. You're not allowed to tell a lie. Oh, but the ganze emes darf man echt nicht sagen, but you don't have to tell the whole truth either. You're not allowed to lie, but you don't have to tell the whole truth, you know. Don't say everything, it's not necessary. So when you go to court, then raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So here, he told the truth. He did not lie, but he didn't tell the whole truth. He said he's a perfumer. Turns out he's a perfumer. That's true. But he's also a tanner. He lives in a town. That's true. But he has another house in the metropolis. His name is Yosef. That's true. But he has a second name, Shimon. He didn't tell her that. Those omissions are not considered lies, and therefore it does not affect the validity of the marriage. He said he's a perfumer. He is a perfumer. He said he lives in a town. He does live in a town. He said his name is Yosef. His name is Yosef. So he has a second name, a second job, a second house. That is not a contradiction, and therefore it will not invalidate the marriage. However, if he words it, again, the wording is very important. If he says, behold, you are consecrated to me on condition that my name is only Yosef, which means I have only one name, and then it turns out he has two names, or that I am only a perfumer and it turns out he works in leather, or I'm only an inhabitant of a town and it turns out he's also an inhabitant of a metropolis, now he's lied. That's a lie. She is not consecrated if he says only. Number 4, if he says to the woman, you are consecrated, married to me, on condition that I know how to read. I'm a literate Jew. What does that mean? It doesn't mean he knows how to read Hebrew. It means more than that. It means like I'm a reader of the Torah. So he has to know not just how to read from a siddur with vowels, he has to know how to read from the Torah without vowels, and he also has to know what he's reading, he has to translate according to the translation of Onkelos. That was the first Aramaic translation of the Torah. So it means more than to be literate in Hebrew. It means that he has to be able to read without vowels and know what he's reading. Furthermore, if he says on condition that I'm a reader, that means he knows how to read from the Torah and the prophets and the holy writings, the whole Tanakh, with proper grammatical precision. If he doesn't, he won't be married. If he makes a condition that I know how to study the Mishnah, he must know how to study the Mishnah. On condition that I'm a sage of the Mishnah, now he's got to know all the commentaries as well. The Sifra, the Sifri, and the Tosefta Rabbi Chia, which were commentaries on the Mishnah. So, it all depends what he says. Now, here's an important principle. If he says, you're consecrated to me on condition that I am a Torah student of Torah. Now, what does that mean? Does he have to be the most brilliant student in the whole yeshiva of Jerusalem or Bnei Brak? Or can he just be a student of Torah? So if he says on condition that I'm a student of Torah, we don't say that he has to be of the caliber of Ben Azai and Ben Zoma, who are brilliant Talmudic students who are quoted in Pirkei Avot and elsewhere. Instead, it is sufficient that one asks him a question regarding his studies, he's able to answer. He's somewhat knowledgeable. Doesn't have to be a brilliant scholar like the Talmudic sages. If he knows what he's talking about and what he's learning, they ask him a question, he can answer. He's a student of Torah, that's sufficient. So the marriage will be valid. And that includes even the laws of the Yom Tovim, the festivals that are studied in public. The rabbi gives a shir about the festivals in Shul before Yom Tov. So it's not some abstruse, abstract, complicated piece of Talmud. It's basic Jewish law that many ordinary Jews know. If he knows that, he also qualifies as a student, and the marriage will be valid. What if he says, he makes a bigger promise, a bigger condition? Behold, you're married to me on condition that I am a chochem, shani chochem, a wise man. Right? Like in the Pesach Haggadah, we have the wise son. He's called a chochem. Today we would call it a Talmud chochem, a wise scholar of Torah. So if he says I'm a chochem, he doesn't have to be like Rabbi Akiva, the greatest of the great of the Talmudic sages. It's sufficient if one asks him a point of logic on any subject, then he's able to answer. Okay, so he has to be more knowledgeable than the student. Can't just be on regular stuff, but he doesn't have to be like Rabbi Akiva. What if he says, on condition that I am mighty, I'm strong? You don't say he has to be like Hercules or Samson or Schwarzenegger. What does he say here? He says like Avner, Ben Ner, or Yoav. These were the mighty generals in the time of King David, who were obviously mighty warriors physically. So he doesn't have to be the biggest guy, the biggest biceps in the gym. He has to be sufficiently strong physically that other people should be afraid of starting up with him. Then that's considered strong. What if he says on condition that I'm rich? He doesn't have to be like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or even Elon Musk. We don't say that he has to be as wealthy as Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who was very wealthy. There are different examples given as well. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah used to donate, it says in the footnote here, he used to donate 12,000 calves from his herd. How's that? That's quite a hefty donation. So he was a wealthy guy. So if a guy says, you're married to me on condition that I'm rich, you don't have to be like a Elazar ben Azariah to give 12,000 calves. It's sufficient that the people of his town give him honor as a wealthy man. Now here's a fascinating one, perhaps the most fascinating one of this whole chapter. Look here in this bracket. When a man tells a woman, behold, you are consecrated to me on condition that I am righteous. Or here in the Hebrew, Almanas Sha'ani Tzadik. Yeah, I mentioned this in the teaser on the WhatsApp today. Behold, you are married to me on condition that I am a tzaddik. I am perfectly righteous. What if he's known to be thoroughly wicked? He has a reputation in town, not of a tzaddik, not even of an average oak, but of a Rosha. He's a wicked guy. He does terrible things. He has a terrible reputation in town. And he says, you're married to me on condition that I'm righteous, that I'm a tzaddik. Look at the halacha. What does it say? It says there is a doubt regarding the status of this marriage. And the woman is considered as consecrated because it's possible that he had thoughts of repentance in his heart at that moment. So if a second before he puts the ring on her finger and says, you're married to me on condition that I'm a tzaddik, he would have had a thought that he's going to do teshuvah. He's going to repent all his evil ways, and from now on he's going to lead a good, righteous, holy life from being wicked to whether he made such a resolution in his mind. We don't know. But if he's saying on condition that I'm righteous, we have reason to suspect that perhaps he wants to turn over a new leaf. And if he did have such a resolution in his mind before he gave her the ring and said the magic words, he would in fact be righteous because he hasn't yet had a chance to sin since he made the resolution. So he's a tzaddik. This is a powerful lesson on the awesomeness of teshuvah. A person can return to God, to Torah, to being a good Jew, no matter how terrible you were, how badly you behaved, what a low life you may have been. In a second, you can transform yourself, your life, your status, just with a thought, a sincere thought to change your life, to do teshuvah, to repent. You are immediately accepted. It's unbelievable. So we're not sure if this woman is married to him or not, because we don't know for sure. Did he have such a thought? Maybe he had such a thought. So she might need a get because we're not sure. So this is a very inspirational halacha. What if he says the opposite? On condition that I'm wicked, that I'm a Rasha. And we all know him to be a wonderful Jew. What are you talking about, wicked? The man's a tzaddik. He does so many good things. He's in shul 3 times a day. He gives tzedakah like a giant. And he says, on condition that I'm wicked? Well, we have the same doubt. What if he had thoughts of idolatry in his heart just before he put the ring? It's the reverse. He's a good Jew. And now he's having second thoughts. What am I wasting my time? Let me have a good time. Let me enjoy a hedonistic lifestyle. I'm giving up this Judaism. I'm going to go to worship idols. I'm going to drop all my observance, whatever. We don't know. Maybe he had such a thought, in which case he might be a Rosh, or maybe she's married. Maybe the condition was true. So the sin of idol worship is so great that even if he thinks that in his heart, he is considered wicked. And he brings verses to prove that. Finally, number 6. When a man consecrates a woman and says, afterwards he says, there's a problem here. I put the ring on her finger. I said the magic words because I thought she was the daughter of a Kohen, and it turns out she's only the daughter of a Levi. Or I thought she's a daughter of a Levi, now she turns out to be a daughter of a Kohen. Or I thought she's poor, and now it turns out she's rich. She's going to be high maintenance. I'm not looking for a rich woman. I'm looking for a poor woman who'll be low maintenance. Or the reverse. I thought she was rich and she'll support me, and now it turns out she's poor and I'm going to have to work. She is consecrated. In all of the above, the marriage will be valid. Why? Because she did not cause him to make a mistake. She never told him, I'm a daughter of a Kohen or a daughter of a Levi, or I'm rich or I'm poor. He thought. He was under that impression. And it turned out to be a misimpression. But who's to blame? He himself. He didn't do homework. He was under impression, and it was an incorrect impression. So it's his problem, not her problem. So in all of the above, as long as she didn't mislead him, the marriage will be valid. If he's not happy, he'll have to give her a get and get divorced. Similarly, if she says, I thought he was a Kohen, and he turns out to be a Levi, or vice versa. I thought he was poor, it turns out to be rich, or vice versa. She is consecrated, for he did not cause her to err. He did not say, I'm a Kohen, or a Levi, or rich, or poor. She was under the impression that he was this, that, or the other. As long as he did not deliberately mislead her, she made a mistake, that's her problem, and she's going to have to file for divorce if she's really not happy about it. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Floor is open.
Rabbi, can I just ask in relation to Halacha 3? It sounds like it's okay to make an omission, even if it's a deliberate omission. And the woman would have to be wise to the fact that if it's not stated specifically that I'm only a perfumer, there may be a question mark.
Yeah, so the point is, he did not lie. He, as I say, he didn't tell a lie. He just didn't tell the whole truth. But what he said was true. So I think it's implicit here that people who are getting married have a logical and sensible responsibility to do their homework before they accept any invitation, any marriage proposals. If a stranger off the street comes and offers you a ring in a marriage, you're going to accept it? Find out. Hello, can we go on a date? Let's have a cup of coffee. Who are you? Send me your CV. Give me some references. I don't know you. So now, although in the olden days, marriage was much more necessary than it is considered today. Because in the olden days, if a woman didn't have a father to look after her and be her protector and guardian, or a husband, she could be terribly exploited. And therefore women, the Gemara says a woman in those days, a woman would settle to marry anybody rather than not be married. Having said that, as long as he didn't tell a lie, then the marriage is effective, and you can say it's his responsibility to find out about her, and it's her responsibility to find out about him. And if he offers her a proposal with something of value on the basis of something that is true and she accepts it, the deal is done. Any other questions?
Thanks, Rabbi.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Rabbi.
Rabbi.
I wish
Thanks,
you
Rabbi.
a good
Bye-bye.
Rabbi?
Everyone.
All right.
Rabbi, one question, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Dave here. Is it possible to arrange that on a Sunday, this class is not held at 11 a.m.? We always want to watch Simcha.
I can't answer the question, but I'm not the manager of the course. I just volunteered to do the shir on Monday. Can you, write to Rabbi Yosef Chazdan, who is the manager in charge? And
Yes.
if anybody can make it happen, he's the guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rabbi, I do
Yes.
have a question. Oh,
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We learned previously that for a woman to be consecrated, the father has to give consent. That's correct.
No, it depends how old she is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's only if she's a minor. But if she's already
Right. Okay.
majority
Okay.
age, then she can decide herself.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Last call. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Here we are.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Everyone.
I'm starting a
You too. Bye.
lecture series tonight at 8 o'clock on the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam
That's good.
by the Sidnam Shul, starting tonight. You're all invited. If you can look at the Facebook on the Sidnam Shul to get all the details.